So, thank you so much for showing up and thank you for joining the launch of the Abaayo Collective. This is a very important moment for me personally because for the last 15 years I've been working with different organizations, different change makers, and people all across countries and cities and regions. And uh, what I've been focusing on was the impact that we deliver, but at some point I started to start focusing on the ones that actually generate the impact. And the Abaayo Collective is actually the result of this, the result of the exploration around what it is that actually uh, makes our work sustainable for ourselves, what it is that can make us more resilient and happy, basically happy, regardless of the context in which we deliver our work. And we know that the context has been quite tricky in the last several years already. The session today is going to take no more than um, an hour, but I'm quite convinced we're gonna end up quicker. I always say that and never deliver, but 60 minutes, let's say. It's going to take 60 minutes. And we're going to go through three things. The first one is the stage, the context in which Abaayo Collective is being launched. The second one is the platform, the collective itself, the vision, but also the walkthrough in terms of some of the key steps, key elements that the community platform carries. And then finally, we have the QA, the invitation for anyone watching this to join the collective. So let's get started. As I already mentioned, I mean, the work that you are doing is genuinely hard. Um, Regardless whether you're a NGO professional, humanitarian worker, development worker, if you're a change maker working on the local level, international level, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're uh, engaged in change making that involves other humans and crisis situations, but even regardless of a crisis being or not being there, I mean, this is overwhelming. And this is something that can compound over time in terms of stress, in terms of overwhelm, and that can later on result in your personal difficulties and your personal distress. Um, you do this work because this work matters to you. And so this community is built so that you can continue to do what matters to you most. And so a few things that are shaping the context of the Abaayo Collective, but also this type of work. Um, there are contexts that might be more dire, conflict areas, um, maybe parts of the world that experience severe consequences of the climate crisis, wars, migration, whatever that might be, that just by definition are extremely difficult. But next to them are also instances and situations and contexts in which you're dealing with a local community or a larger network that might not be that crisis affected or that at risk of different crises, but at the same time, it still requires a lot of your personal resources to manage the change, to navigate different dynamics and conflicts of a variety of stakeholders that are part of any change making. So that's one thing, the context and the toll that this context might have on you. And now the second part of the context is what you have as a resource that can help you sustain yourself in terms of your well-being, um, in terms of your abilities to decompress, to manage your emotions, to manage your stress, and to be intentional about different practices that restore you. And from that perspective, many different organizations, perhaps even your organization, are providing courses are providing different types of individual assistance that may or may not work. Now, what we know from research is that more often than not, the assistance, the support that is already being provided is insufficient. And I'm quoting 3 different studies here, but there's plenty more to explore and dive into. One of the studies that I'm quoting here says that in terms of burnout and personal burnout, it's 1 in 3 people who are humanitarian workers who experience burnout both on the professional side of things and on their personal side of things. Second thing is decompressing. We're looking for ways in which we can offload stress and tension that we accumulate over days and weeks. And this comes down very often, unfortunately, to substance abuse. Uh, Up to 50% of people working in crisis affected areas in humanitarian assistance report using and abusing alcohol as a way to decompress, right? So they pretty much engage in very detrimental and hazardous way of decompressing themselves. Another statistic that says that out of the surveyed aid workers, almost 80%, note 80%, reported that in their professional career at some point, they had a type of mental health issues, and almost half of them had diagnosed depression. Depression, anxiety, I'm sure you know, are some of the most common disorders that we can experience. And unfortunately, the context very much exacerbates the risk. So that's the picture in terms of the mental health risks of working in change and in humanitarian assistance. And then there is also the more individual level. When I started talking about the Abaayo Collective being the space that will focus mostly on mental health support and well-being development for aid, humanitarian work professionals, change agents, I also sent out a survey that asked people who are interested in the Abaayo Collective, asking about what were the things that they would hope to get from this platform, right? What is the type of support that from their perspective would be critical to get? And not surprisingly, over 50% of people who signed up for the waitlist said, I want to be able to manage my stress better, and I want to be able not to burn out, to prevent my own burnout. This was the majority of responses. Closely after, there were insights that said, more often than not, I am myself asked to care for well-being of my teammates, of my colleagues, but I need to navigate that on my own, and I need support myself in terms of caring for my own well-being. Some of the waitlist members said, I'm looking for peer connection with people who actually understand our work. I'm sure it's no surprise to you that quite many people in our sector currently work as individual contractors, as independent consultants, which means that in a sense, they are detached from teams or communities within organizations that can be providing some sort of peer support. And then finally, practical tools, practical methods that help to develop self-understanding and sustainable performance were also things mentioned more broadly, more generally by the respondents. And so taking all of that, you might say, okay, but there are solutions to it, right? We have wellness apps, we have online courses, we have communities of all sorts. Our organizations offer trainings. Why would we need another thing? And it's a fair point. And I was wondering whether or not it makes sense to create a new platform, a community that would be yet another potential tool for you to use. But through reading and talking with colleagues, I understood that most of the solutions that are out there do not really capture the context in which we work, do not fully recognize the limitations, but also the potential that our work provides. And there were a few things that I understood were important and that, in a way, define this platform, this community moving forward. And so Abaayo Collective is intended as a guided process. So not a library, a guided process to build your own personal resilience system. It is going to be a community of peers who understand your context and can refer to what you're going through, can, if asked, provide some sort of advice or assistance to really translate different ways and methods of taking care of your own well-being or your team's well-being into the practical context of aid, humanitarian assistance, other change-making work. And so with that community element, what I'm hoping this platform will also grow is this sense of being in this together. And this is also what explains the name of the collective. Abaayo in Somali means a sister. It's a greeting, a welcoming word that you say to somebody that is dear to you, that you can trust, that celebrates with you when things go well, that maybe holds your hand when things don't go so well. And so with that spirit, I wanted to use this name, use this word as a symbol for our community. Now, as I mentioned, it's one of the most important things for me in this community is that it is not a content library. I think this is also something that I've learned through beta testing. We need a space that has some valuable practical resources, but that also helps you navigate through them, that guides you through different methods and steps so that then you can actually create your own well-being or resilience protocol, your individual one, the one that really is adapted to your own context, but at the same time that you have clarity on and that you know is based on research-based methods, proven, validated methods and recommendations. When you join the platform, there are 4 major steps to go through. The very first one is the personal burnout risk assessment. This is something that you will receive immediately after logging in. It's an assessment that allows you to look into 2 things. One are risks that may increase the likelihood that you would burn out. So there's a list of questions that investigate both the demands of your work and the resources that you have at hand so that we can see what your starting point is. The second element of the assessment is the general assessment tool that you can also use to see where you are in terms of already being or not being burnt out. Long story short, in this first step, what we want to see is your starting point. From there, we move to 2 things that are already putting you in touch with others. One thing is getting in touch with me. So I will invite you into an onboarding call during which we can discuss the results of your initial assessment. Of course, you share as much as you want. I don't have a way of saying what your results are. This is for you to share. And this is also a space in which you can ask any questions and I can help you move around the platform. And the second thing in this immediate second step is meeting others in the community. I will be organizing community calls, but there's also a space in which you can introduce yourself, see who else is there, um, strike up a conversation, already comment on somebody else's post. So getting engaged with others is also something that I would encourage you to do immediately once you log in. And then from there, the journey begins. Step 3 is around exploring weekly themes. And so every week, you will see a new topic published on the platform. Now, you can spend 10 to 15 minutes to read through it and decide whether or not this is something you want to explore in more depth or not. If you do, there will be several more things available to you. One will be a reflection call towards the end of the week so that everybody who decided to give this topic a deeper dive can meet and discuss how they've seen it, how they've understood it, if they've already implemented anything that was alongside this particular topic. Second thing is an individual exercise. Every topic will invite you to do something practical, simple, that can immediately turn your knowledge into practice. Third thing is a journaling prompt. This will also accompany topic-wise the theme of the week. And so at any point, if you want, you can write your own reflection in your journal. You can also comment on the journaling prompt and share your thoughts with others. And then finally, deep dives. There's a resources section that you will also be able to enter. And there you will find some additional resources, articles, webinar recordings, additional reflection tools, so that if you want, you can really explore the weekly topic in depth. So it's very much up to you how deep you go with each topic. The minimum is the 10, 15 minutes to read through the initial overview of the weekly theme. And then step number 4, as we'll be going through each and every theme, you will be able to piece them together into your own resilience protocol. You will be able to pick and choose the practices that work well for you, that actually make sense for you. You'll be able to adjust them to your own work context, share that with others who might also be looking for inspiration. And with that, really improve in terms of the risk of burning out, but also improve in the sense of building your own happiness and well-being. And the burnout assessment that you take at the very beginning of your engagement in the platform is also something that you're going to be able to retake after 2-3 months, however long you want these intervals to see your progress. There are colleagues who have tested the platform. As I mentioned, the platform has been beta tested, and they are already sharing some of their feedback, some of their thoughts about what this community brings. I want to be super transparent about the fact that when we started with the testing, the platform had a broader scope. We were first thinking about combining well-being with impact work and tools for change makers, but towards the end, the focus narrowed to well-being and mental health. Long story short, because I'm talking and talking, but long story short, my priority for the Abaayo Collective is to really help you stay in this work for as long as you want without burning out, so that it's you making a decision to switch career if it ever happens, not your body saying, listen, enough is enough. And so that's the promise. That's the priority that I hold high for this collective and this community. And so from that perspective, this also means that I am going to be inviting you to decide about what the next weekly themes are, what the meetings, the calls are. We're going to have also community-led sessions like brown bag lunches, during which we can meet to explore topics suggested by our members. So it's just as much your platform as it is any other members. Feel free to also co-create it as we go. And so finally, this is now the opening of the first official cohort. This cohort will have a max of 30 members. This is because I want to be available and very, very intentional about working with each and every person on their initial journey, the exploration of themes, their burnout assessment. So we're not opening the collective for as many people as one. We're capping it at 30 members. And for these 30 members, there is the founding member subscription fee that is $39 per month. I know that you might not yet know if that's something for you, and yet you might want to explore it. And this is why I'm putting forth a guarantee. If at any point you've done your assessment, you've joined a call, you've explored the platform, and you see it's not for you, just let me know. Money back without any additional questions. I want you to be happy with what you're getting and what you're learning and what you're exploring. So that's a promise on my side. Again, no questions asked. But there's one more thing. I decided to add a stipend that allows 1 in every 10 paying members to join the platform for 3 months for free. I know that we are in very different life circumstances at different points in our lives. Some of us have lost their jobs in the last year's turmoil. Some of us are simply changing careers and are in between jobs. Some of us work for super small NGOs and simply cannot afford a fee. And so from that perspective, I decided it's only fair that we have a stipend for those who could really use some support, but at the same time cannot really afford it at this point. And so on the website that you have linked here, I'm also sharing an application form for the stipend. So feel free to use it and let me know if you need that type of support. So without further ado, we're ready to open to others, to the change agents, aid practitioners, humanitarian assistance workers, whoever that might be, and invite them into the Abaayo Collective. Once again, the work that you do matters, and so does the person doing it. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the other side.